I always feel like somebody's watching me, and I have no privacy. Always feel like somebody's watching me. Maybe it is just a dream.
All right, all right. Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. If you're new, I do want to let you know we are also streaming live on X and Rumble as well, and of course on YouTube. We have a big show for you tonight, and we are going to do call-in tonight after the show since I didn't get a chance to do it on Tuesday. Perfect timing, though. I think it's good we end up waiting to do it on Thursday because of the stories tonight. Holy smokes. Tonight's theme, ladies and gentlemen, is Cats Out the Bag. Yes, it is. Let's go ahead and give some shout outs to people in the chat first, and then we will keep it moving and grooving. Hello. Greetings, Kamala, says the Thiel Society. Yeah, we're going to get into it. Greetings, Burhan, says the group's name is Dialogue Mafia Group. I see some of you've been paying attention. Greetings, Susie, says Twin Towers, Pentagon, Epidemic, NWO, a Trump card, Obama card, Hillary card, all from the 80s OG gang. Well. Greetings, Myra, says see you at 8. Shout out to Ellen, sends love. Greetings, John, says no more white supremacy. I hear you. Shout out to Sue. I am so disappointed in the Obama's silence, re the targeting of the Black community, job losses, gutting of voting rights, or brutality being inflicted on Black Americans. So much. Well, I think you're going to find out why tonight when we get to the Obama story. Think you're going to find out why, but yeah. Greetings, Rich, says data leak exposed the list and details of Dialogue, a secretive invite-only society co-founded by Peter Thiel. The records for the 222-person event includes names of prominent Silicon Valley executives. Yes, it does. We have so much to get into, Rich. So much. Hey, greetings, Patricia, says missile depletion surely makes for some really nasty weather and warning waters. You know, while competing AI search engines map out end times, all by design on the taxpayer's dime. Shout out to Blockbuster, says hi. Greetings, Cloudness, says bing bong, we are the champions. Let's go, Nick. Salute Sabby Sabs and everyone in the chat. B1 fam. I know I'm going to hear from the Nick fans tonight, man. Oh boy. I know I'm going to hear for you guys, especially on call-in too. I got to give you your props. Like I'm not a hater. I'm not going to hate. I'm going to congratulate. Congrats. I got to give you guys your props. Shout out to Silver Surfer says, Sabby, congrats on knocking on 400K. Thank you. Shout out to CBC Voter says, a happy Thursday, Sabby, Eric T. Red, and Colin. Greetings, JVB says, Thiel has a menacing smirk. Shout out to Skylar says, oh, this is going to be a great episode tonight as per usual. Greetings, Circa says, hello, comrades. Hello. Greetings, Doug says, wow, I'm early. Yes, you are. Greetings, Kira says, happy Thursday, and happy Thursday to you. Let me answer Barb's question. It always says 6 p.m. when I sign up. I come back later, it changes to 7 p.m. Is it because you are on the East Coast? This is the only show I have issues with time changing anyone else. I am on the East Coast. I'm not sure which coast you're on. You got to excuse some of us East Coasters. I should start putting the other time zones in the description or something so that people know that as well. But you got to pardon us East Coasters. We tend to believe we're the only time zone sometimes just because a lot of things are automatically set to East Coast time. So you got to pardon us a bit. Greetings, David says, Sabby, did you see the war criminals at Obama's library in Chicago? Yeah, I saw it. Saw it. Shout out to Hannah says, Corey Hooker. Greetings, little goddess says, hey there, Sabby, Eric, and chat. Happy Thursday to you all. Okie dokie. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Let's go ahead and give a shout out to Sabby patrons. We're going to see if I can actually finish the show at 10 o'clock and go right into call-in. We will see. We will see. But that's my goal, to try to get through the stories by 10. I want to give a shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. Really do appreciate you, fam. If you're interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories for you folks. We have the ultimate. We have Sabinators. Don't forget about those Sabsters. I think they're pretty cool people too. We also have the Sabbies. And last but not least, we have members. All of their names are listed here, ladies and gents, and you can also see their names scrolling across the screen tonight throughout the show. Thank you all and welcome. Welcome back. It's time to do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Nothing to it but to do it. It's true, Nini. We are. I'm so sorry, guys. We think everything is East Coast time. It's true. Oh, man. And there's so many different time zones just in the United States alone. So it's so funny that we just automatically just default to East Coast time. Anywho, I'll have to find out the story behind that, like why that tends to be the standard time is the East Coast time. Tonight's theme is Cats Out the Bag. And you're going to see that tonight with the stories. Let's go ahead and show you that beautiful thumbnail so we can talk about what we're going to talk about. Let's get into it. Tonight, ladies and gents, we are discussing, oh boy, this is a big one, Peter Thiel's Secret Society. Dun, dun, dun. Finally exposed. You may be wondering why the hell is Cory Booker there next to Peter Thiel? Ladies and gentlemen, when we get into this leak that came out, you're going to see that these people only pretend to be against each other in person. Behind the scene, behind closed doors, they're buddies and homies, and they all have one goal and one mission, and that does not include us. The secret society finally exposed. We're going to get into that. We're also going to discuss, this is very interesting, new information about Charlie Kirk's death that I was not aware of. Shout out to, I think it was Sam Parker, who explained this video. We're going to get into that microphone information, something I did not know about those microphones that, you know, the wireless microphones, at least the one that he was wearing. And I think that's important. We're going to dive into all of that. We're also going to tie that with the recent article that just came from the Gray Zone about how quickly Zionists took over the Charlie Kirk show. So I think all of this is connected. We're also going to discuss Barack Obama. Ladies and gentlemen, we might have to have a celebration tonight. Barack Obama appears to be reading the room. Reading the room. It's time for a change in a different way. a much different way. And it seems like Obama has figured that out. We're going to get into that, ladies and gents. We're also going to discuss Donald Trump is having another issue this time around. It appears he not only, of course, has pissed off the anti-war base of his party, which we've been talking about for quite some time, and those who wanted the release of the Epstein files, but now he has angered the other side of his base, the side of his base that was for the war in Iran. This is after he has signed the Iran agreement. That's where Mike Huckabee comes in. He's there in the thumbnail, and several others who are not happy with Donald Trump and the recent statements from JD Vance in this press conference. They are pissed. We're going to get into all of that. And last but not least, we do have one heavy story tonight, and that is the killing of a 1-year-old boy. And that this is a tough one. It's a hard one here. But you guys know how I feel about this. Like, killing kids is a hell to the no. So 1-year-old boy killed in Mississippi. We're going to get into all of that, ladies and gents. It is not Friday, but we're almost there, getting ready for the weekend. All right. If you haven't had a chance to do so, do me a solid and smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Care Bear stare. Some of you may be too young to remember the Care Bears, but some of you in the chat may remember them. Care Bears used to be the thing. They had all different bears, and my favorite was Sunshine Bear. That was the yellow bear, and they had the little sun on the tummy, and they used to poke their little tummies out and go, Care Bear stare. That was how they fought their enemies. They fought them with love. But logically says Shamrock Care Bear was based. A lot of people like Lucky too. I think that was Lucky. I think that was the name of that one. But yeah, they like to care their enemies, and that's how they fought them. Anywho, again, tonight's theme is cats out the bag. And the cat's out the bag with this first story. It seems to be that Barack Obama is finally reading the room. And I think this is a positive for those who are anti-war, those of us who want some type of populist energy, those of us who are tired of the status quo. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama were recently interviewed by Robin from Good Morning America, and there were a number of things that were discussed. First, I want to dive into what he said here about the Iran war. Now, just a reminder, this was recorded prior to Donald Trump and Iran signing that agreement. So just keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and start with what was said about the Iran war.
How do you think things are being handled right now there?
It is doubtful that any agreement that arises is going to be significantly different or a significant improvement from the deal that we had in the first place, and had worked for a long stretch of time before the United States pulled out of it. So I'm hopeful that bombing stops and ordinary people are no longer suffering as a consequence of the war. And then in retrospect, it's a reminder that on a lot of difficult foreign policy problems, the notion that we can just bully our way or bomb our way to solutions may sometimes seem appealing, but the fact of the matter is that taking the time to explore diplomacy and exhaust the possibilities of coming up with deals that don't solve 100% of the problem, but solve 80, 90% of the problem.
So this is interesting. I don't know why someone would think it's appealing or seems appealing to bomb people. I don't know why that's appealing to anyone. So I don't know, maybe I'm just have a different heart than Obama. I thought that was kind of weird, but he did bomb, civilians in Libya, which he does acknowledge. And he acknowledged back then, he didn't try to deny that they killed a lot of civilians in Libya. But it's interesting to hear him say now that you can't just bomb your way out of this. And this is part of what leads me into Barack Obama is starting to read the room. It's unfortunate he didn't read the room in 2014. Let me show you something. Where's that book? Here it is. Here it is. See this book? This book is called Going to Tehran. Okay. Professor Morandi told me to read this book. It's really good. This book is by Flynn Leverett and Hillary Mann Leverett. So they're a couple. Okay. Peep that. All right. In this book, this couple, they went to Tehran and they were giving advice back then under the Obama administration. Now, they worked for the Clinton administration and also the Bush administration. So they worked for both parties. One of the things that they say in this book is that Barack Obama was heading down the wrong direction with Iran. Now, they weren't for the war with Iran. And in fact, this book basically is them giving advice saying the United States government has to stop trying to be an enemy of Iran and learn how to work with Iran. I can't believe this was written in 2014. Like, I feel like, I'm behind the curve myself here. I feel like this is something that would be heard of more today, because more people are speaking out against Israel. They speak out against Israel and the US government in this book. 2014. And they made it very clear that even Barack Obama, who promised hope and change, was going down the wrong road when it came to Iran. If you have not read this book, read it. Going to Tehran. Had Obama listened back then, we could be in a different place, because even the deal that Obama had with Iran was still not in favor of Iran. And that's the thing. This still supported U.S. dominance, which I'm against. And I know many of you are against. Leave these countries alone and let them govern themselves. So Obama didn't start a war with Iran, but Obama also was still not going in the right direction. The Everetts, they make it very clear that the United States made a mistake, including Obama, they said, that they seem to along the way have made a decision that Israel can do whatever it wants in order to protect the U.S. interests in the Middle East. And that's really what Israel is all about. This is not about religion. The U.S. government doesn't care about the Jewish people. That's not what this is about. It's about protecting U.S. interests in the Middle East. So it's interesting to hear Barack Obama say this now, but I'm going to explain to you why I think he's making these statements. The anti-war movement is growing, and not just on the left, but also people on the right are against these wars now. Not all of them, but some of them are against these wars as well. It's no longer a popular position to say, rah, rah, USA, bomb, bomb, bombs away. That's not popular anymore, especially when it comes to the younger voters as well. They're not in favor of this, right? But the look on his face to me is very telling, because he participated in this too, not with Iran, but with Libya. He also participated in these bombing campaigns. You can't walk around killing people and then, get mad at people when they ask you, why did you kill these innocent people? Now, let's get to the next part here, where they go on to talk about what he's grateful for from his tenure as president. Listen to this.
And what do you consider your greatest accomplishment?
Look, there's a lot of stuff I'm proud of. For all the resistance from our political opposition, the Affordable Care Act has now helped 50, 60 million people and continues to help people, even though The current Congress has tried to weaken it and taken away some of the subsidies that were really helping a lot of working people. The thing I'm probably the most proud of is the tone we set. I'm very proud of the message we sent to the country that we're representing everybody.
Is there anything?
Pause. He couldn't say much, could he? What he was proud of during his presidency. He mentions the Affordable Care Act, which a lot of us agree didn't go far enough. Barack Obama has admitted in multiple interviews about a year ago that he could have pushed for universal health care. I mean, it's so obvious now. And he mentions, Affordable Care Act. But he said the thing that he's the most proud of is the tone and the message that they're there for everybody. And this is the problem with the Democratic Party. And this is why someone like Donald Trump was able to win after Barack Obama's second term. His most great accomplishment is the tone and the message. And that's because he didn't do as much. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. That's why someone like Trump was able to come in and win. I mean, if you're asking me, if some people say that, well, what did Obama do for the Black community? Nothing. Nothing. I mean, was policing, corrected, or, there's body cams, etc. But let's remember Ferguson happened under Obama's administration. That's something that happens under any administration, regardless of political party. So he didn't do anything for us. Don't come looking at me. But notice he only had so little to say. And he had such a big campaign when he was running for office. He was the first that I saw that ran on more of a populist message. Before, like Bernie, he had like a populist message. He also ran on ending the wars. Similar to Donald Trump. He said, we're going to end the wars in the Middle East. We're going to end these wars. And unfortunately, he bombed and killed people as well. Civilians in Libya, and killed Gaddafi. It's interesting, Barack Obama, when he was questioned about doing something for Black Americans, he said, well, no, I'm not going to, similar to Kamala, I'm not going to only do something for them, but he only did something for other groups of people. Liberals don't point this out. He only did things for other groups of people, just not us. Gaddafi actually did you guys know this? That Gaddafi wanted to give reparations to Black Americans? They shut that down real quick. And then they had to kill him. They had to kill him because he didn't want to continue to rely on the West, and he wanted African countries to sustain on their own.
Looking back, that you would do differently as president?
Oh, I always used to feel like I was making a mistake a day. The thing that we were good at and allowed me to sleep at night and get up and go back at it was I always felt that when we made decisions, we were making decisions with the American people in mind.
From Barack Obama's time as a state senator.
So different, right? So different. Someone said he looks so much older now. Yeah, I mean, it's been many years, but I remember having a lot of hope, man, a lot of hope back in those days. Here's the part that I think really, really stands out to me. Listen to what he says here about what is to come.
And the next election we have coming up is a midterm.
That's correct.
And both parties, the polling numbers are very low for both parties.
Oh, what did Robin say? Oh, he had to laugh that one off. The midterms are coming up. What did she say?
And both parties, the polling numbers are very low for both parties.
Ding, 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 ding. Uh-oh, Robin, you weren't supposed to say that, but it's the truth. It's the truth. People are tired, right? Yeah. Listen to his response.
People are a little discouraged right now. But I believe that we go through these cycles, and there is going to be a younger generation that pops up, and there are going to be leaders who pop up where people go, Michelle's mom was always good about saying this. You know how things get better? Is us old folks, we kind of fade.
Gotta get out of the way.
We got to get out of the way.
Get out of the way. Pay attention to this again. How do things get better?
And there's going to be a younger generation that pops up, and there are going to be leaders who pop up where people go. Michelle's mom was always good about saying this. You know how things get better? Is us old folks, we kind of fade.
Gotta get out of the way.
We got to get out of the way.
So it appears Barack Obama is finally reading the room. Yes, you got to get out of the way. You know, a friend of mine was explaining this a couple years ago, that a lot of younger people, and not just younger people, but a lot of younger people feel like every time they have a chance to get some kind of progress, someone like Obama comes and stops it. Someone mentioned it already in the chat, the NBA strike. Obama came in and stopped that and said, get back to playing basketball. Occupy Wall Street. Many of us remember that. Guess who broke that up? Barack Obama. You know, every time like we try to like rise up and push back against the establishment, against the corruption, it seems like there was always like an Obama to say, get back to doing what you're doing, or come in and shut it down in some way, shape, or form. And that causes people to become discouraged. And when people become discouraged and they don't see another path, they start to check out. So I am glad that you finally realize, Obama, that you are getting out of the way. You need to go retire on Martha's Vineyard. Go hang out there with your mom jeans in your mansion and just retire and just get out the way. That goes for all of them. Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, all the Clintons, the Bushes, all of them, just go retire, get out of the way. We tired of seeing you fall back. Mitch McConnell, you go do the same. I think he in and out of the hospital right now. All of y'all need to go, okay? Just get out of the way. Go be happy and sip Mai Tai somewhere on the beach and just let the younger people come in and drive this bus, okay? Because I feel as though a lot of us, we've been passengers on this bus for a long time. And you guys didn't want to get out of the driver's seat, get out of the seat. Donald Trump, you take all the Trumps with you too. Trump, just go retire somewhere. You barely know what you're saying half the time. Go retire. Biden, go retire. We don't want to deal with you either. Hunter Biden, I don't want you running for president either. All of you dynasties, just go retire somewhere and let the young people move forward. Your time is up. Now I'm going to tell you why I think he said this. Listen to what just happened. Check this out. I was so happy to hear that. Listen to what Ta-Nehisi Coates just said recently on Chris Hayes' show. And this is something I think the Democratic Party doesn't really want to hear. They know it, but they don't want to hear it. But people need to hear this.
I was thinking about the essay talks a lot about the Harris campaign, and particularly how the Harris campaign was attempting to navigate the issue of Gaza, the severe and acute sense of desperate moral outrage that so many people in the Democratic coalition felt about what they were seeing being done to Gaza in the wake of the October 7th Hamas attacks in Israel. And kind of tried to just not do it at all. And then I was comparing that to Barack Obama's victory in 2008, where, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, I think Barack Obama being against the Iraq war was the reason he won that primary, which is to say,
Totally.
You couldn't avoid it. You couldn't run the primary in 2008 successfully in the Democratic coalition and not have the right view on that conflict. And it seems to me you're saying there's some similar reckoning coming in this primary process as we head towards 2028.
Sometimes people forget that. That was another thing Barack Obama was against. Like, they were running against the Iraq war at that point in time.
Yeah, and it's here. And look, I want to be fair here. You know, you get X number of days, a brief campaign. You are a Black woman, and I am not blind to the sheer amount of weight, you know, that was being put on Kamala Harris's shoulders. And you know, look, I had my moments where I felt like, man, you dump all of this in our lap. Like now, where it felt unfair. But then you go to the convention, and you see that the patron saint is Fannie Lou Hamer. And Fannie Lou Hamer is obviously famous for, attempting to integrate the Mississippi delegation, but she's less famous for the fact that as early as 1965, she was speaking out against the Vietnam War, and people were not happy about that. That Coretta Scott King, who, is a hero to so many Democrats, was speaking out before her husband and had the foresight to understand and to ask of Lyndon Johnson, I do not understand how you can be so sympathetic to young Black kids in Alabama and drop bombs on kids in Vietnam. And I think we kind of forgot that, to say nothing of 2008. I think to some extent, some of us who are in the political world have forgotten the very real history of the heroes that we claim.
So the point that Ta-Nehisi Coates is making here, which I think is really important, is that you can't have these pictures of these, revolutionary icons behind you, like Fannie Lou Hamer, or don't even say Malcolm X. But you can't have that. And then they did something you wouldn't even utter to do. They spoke out against the wars. They spoke out against the war in Vietnam. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke out against the war in Vietnam. Kamala Harris did not have many demands of her. But one of those demands was to call for a ceasefire, implement a ceasefire, and then also end arms and weapons to Israel. She said no. She said she would not do it. She wouldn't even say Israel is an occupying nation. They are occupying the people. They are oppressing the Palestinian people. That is against international law. She wouldn't even say it. She wouldn't even go there. So you can't have this type of compassion for civil rights in the United States and you ignore those atrocities abroad. You can't say you were against the Jim Crow South and you were against apartheid here in the United States, but you support the apartheid that's in Israel. These things don't go together. And more people are being exposed. More of these politicians are being exposed because it's so blatantly obvious, especially to people who know history. So the reason why I think Barack Obama made that statement, is making the statement that he's making now, that he need to fall back, is because Kamala Harris lost the presidential election, because they lost to Trump again. It's very telling. If Kamala Harris wins in 2024, I'm not sure Barack Obama says this. I'm not sure he says it. Don't forget who he wanted to run for president. He wanted Gretchen Whitmer and what's that guy's name? Wes Moore from Maryland. He wanted them to be the ticket. He didn't even want Kamala. He wanted them to be the ticket, but they're out of touch too. He was just picking two other Zionists as opposed to the one you already had right in front of you. So the reality is the Democratic Party lost the youth vote in 2024. Biden did pretty well with it in 2020. They lost it in 2024. They also lost Black voters, which has continued to decline since Obama's first presidential term. After that first term, the number of Black voters that are voting for the Democrat president has continued to decline. People don't want to say this about Kamala because they know it makes her look bad. But the reality is she received less Black votes than Biden did, and Hillary and Biden, Obama. The data shows that. So people don't want to get into this sometimes. And like, you hear me say this stuff and people say, oh, well, you can't talk about her. You can't say that about her. No, the fuck I can. And maybe if Kamala Harris would have been listening to people like me, maybe she wouldn't have been in this situation. You cannot ignore the people. You can't ignore the working class people. You can't ignore the Black voters. You can't win without the Black vote. Hello? That is why I believe Barack Obama is saying this now. Because she lost. And then there's another thing that I think people need to come to terms with. It's not just Kamala losing. Andrew Cuomo lost. Andrew Cuomo lost the NYC mayor race. He lost the primary and then decided to run as an independent and then lost in the general. And he lost to Zohran Mamdani. And whether you like Zohran Mamdani or not is beside the point. What it is showing you is that the people who are running on a populist message, a message that delivers for the working class, a message that is not pro-Israel. That guy won in the largest city in the United States. And you had a seasoned politician, corrupt one at that, like Andrew Cuomo, very much establishment, very pro-Israel, and he lost. There were videos of Barack Obama and Zohran Mamdani like hanging out or whatever recently, like talking to kids at I think this was like a daycare or something like that. I forget. Anyway, reading books to kids. Barack Obama had to come around and give the endorsement and had to finally say, you know what? It's time. Let them take the lead. Let the younger people lead. Whether he agreed with all of Zohran's policies or not, the reality is things are changing. And the old guard, there isn't space for you anymore. People tired, okay? You got high gas prices. You got high grocery prices. People can't buy homes. And not just young people, but just people. Shit. People can't buy homes. You got people in their 40s that still have roommates. That is not the American dream. Nobody wakes up, when they're a kid and they ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? Nobody says, I want to have roommates in my 40s and still be struggling to pay the bills. No one says that. So something has to change. And that is why you are seeing things go the way that they go. And so if Zohran Mamdani loses and if Kamala Harris won, I'm not sure you get this message from Barack Obama. But she had to lose. You guys get it? She had to lose to show that people were not willing to just go out and support a woman who wouldn't condemn genocide. That you can no longer continue to push this rhetoric on us and just say, well, we're better than the other guy, so come out and support us. That's why I said she had to lose. Now, Trump isn't better. Trump is horrible. Trump's psycho. I don't know what he's going to say tomorrow. He's all over the damn place. But in the recent statements, I think even he's starting to realize, oh shit, I'm losing half of my base now. I'm telling you guys right now, the pro-war message is a loser. The I'm not doing anything for the American people is a loser. This is not 2008 anymore. We're coming off of Iraq. My generation, I'm a millennial. I'm coming off of the Iraq War, Afghanistan War, pandemic, '08 housing crisis, or now Iran war. Us millennials, we know no rest. We know no, I don't know no peace. You know peace? I don't know peace. So I am glad. I am glad that Barack Obama is stepping aside, and I hope that you guys are glad too. Can we get a clap? Let's get a clap. They have this clap feature now on StreamYard, so I'm going to use it. We're going to clap. Yeah. All right, let's go to some of the comments and then we'll get to the next story, ladies and gents. Thank you for the super chat. Good food only. Love Knicks. I told you guys the Knicks fans were going to come out tonight. I told you. Thank you, Imrish. Sabby, we miss you. I'm right here. Marvin says, was there a hustler bear, a crackhead bear? No, Marvin. Thank you, Remy. Sabby, your perspective is usually spot on, but your excitement about Obama is ugh. He was establishment through and through. At best, he was a house in at best. I'm not excited about Obama. I'm excited for him to step aside. That's what I'm excited about. But you might have sent that earlier. Thank you, Logically Dashing. I remember McCain's Beach Boys parody, bomb, 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 Iran. All of these wars were planned in advance and happened under both Democrats and Republicans. Yep. Thank you, Marvin. Oded Yenon Plan 82 by Shahak, aka GRTR Israel, Greater Israel Project. Thank you, Imberg. Optics is very bad. First, Black POTUS brings slavery to Libya. His legacy is Trump. Yeah, his legacy is Trump, isn't it? That's wild, but it's true. Thank you, Remy. All these presidents have a common ancestor that alone should tell you everything you need to know. Thank you, Roger. That was Mayor Bloomberg who shut down Occupy Wall Street and Zuccotti Park because he got the call from his comrades he used to work with on Wall Street, and from Obama. Don't forget that. Thank you, Measured Man. I can't. That's the message. She said Barack in his mom jeans. LOL, he should have gotten with B for a Levi endorsement. He does wear mom jeans. Thank you, Allah. Would you vote for a Republican like Thomas Massey? I mean, I don't vote Democrat or Republican. Like, I vote third party. I haven't voted Democrat in a long time. I've never voted for a Republican. So thank you, Kenman. Your sons and daughters are beyond your command. And thank you, Allah. Sabby is cute when she's angry. Okie dokie. Just don't see me hangry. All right, ladies and gents, let's move on to the next story. Again, the theme is cat is out the bag. So get this. You know, there is this split within the MAGA base where the anti-war, Trump supporters are not happy with Donald Trump, not just over the Iran war, but also over Epstein and the economy. So I would say those three main things, right? So Trump pissed them off. Now he's managed to piss off the Trump supporters that supported the war with Iran and defended his decision about the Epstein files and is excusing his economy. You're not going to believe this. And it all comes because of this agreement that he signed with Iran. In fact, we're going to start with this clip here where you have a Republican senator. This is hilarious. A lot of them are starting to see it. You have a Republican senator who was on CNN who is basically now echoing what Donald Trump and JD Vance are echoing, like, we can't be doing these war with Iran. And watch how Caitlin Collins responds.
Senator, are you okay with Iran having missiles?
I'm hesitating. I'd prefer that they not. I certainly don't want them to have long-distance missiles. I don't want them to have nuclear-armed missiles. I would prefer they didn't. But I don't think that's the key issue here. I think that they have to be able to defend themselves. And I just kind of come back to the big picture here, is that the Middle East countries like this agreement.
You think Iran needs to be able to defend itself?
I do. I think that they have to be able to defend themselves. Otherwise, we turn this into a forever war. You're never going to get them short of boots on the ground of surrendering everything, an unconditional agreement, if you will. But again, what I'm getting at here is this agreement has the support of most of the countries in the Middle East, and I think that's going to give it more of a long-lasting relationship, a long-lasting success as well.
So that is Senator Roger Marshall, who is a Republican from Kansas. He said the big no-no on corporate media, and that is that Iran has a right to defend itself, which it does. But you're not supposed to say that on corporate media. So Caitlin Collins is like, you think Iran has a right to defend itself? Of course, she would never say that about Israel, though. Now, would she? People are starting to read the room. Even this guy, who I never heard of until I saw this clip. Right? So if you have a Republican senator who is starting to read the room, that brings me to Donald Trump and, of course, JD Vance. JD Vance said this earlier today. Guys, you've got to see this. JD Vance is definitely, from what I saw today, gearing up for a presidential run for 2028. He knows what to say to get people excited, especially that side of the base that is anti-war. And this is what is pissing off the other side of Trump supporters now. So it's all over the place. Listen to what JD Vance said here about Iran and Israel.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Jordan Conradson with the Gateway Fund. I want to talk back to the Lebanon component of the deal. There's a report in Axios that Netanyahu's fuming over this. Israel doesn't feel bound to the MOU as it relates to Lebanon. If, as you mentioned, your frustration with Israel striking in Beirut, hitting apartment buildings, if that continues, could it torpedo the deal? And what would the U.S.'s response be to a broader war in Lebanon involving Israel and Hezbollah?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into hypotheticals that could torpedo the deal, because I think the president's expectation is that all of our friends, the Israelis, the Arabs in the region, we're going to work together and actually see this deal to completion. Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
What the hell is going on, right? So again, let's all remember, these are words. These are not, it's not action. They're still giving Israel weapons, but these are the words that just came out of JD Vance's mouth. And as you can hear, the reporters erupt there like, I can't believe he just said that. But this is JD Vance, I think, gearing up for 2028 presidential run. He just did this podcast tour where he was on Megyn Kelly's show and he was on The View promoting his book. And also on The View, he said, I have to defend my boss, which is Donald Trump. So that conversation, I think, that he had with Megyn Kelly, I think was the most telling, right? Because Megyn Kelly represents that other side that said, well, Donald Trump said no more wars, right? So she represents that other side of the base. And I think who knows what the conversation was behind the scenes there as well. But it's very clear that JD Vance now seems to understand, well, I got to do something to get those people. I think they're trying to pull those people that are on the Candace and the Tucker, and Megyn came lately, but the Candace and the Tucker and the Megyn Kelly side, trying to pull them back in to the fold. I'm not sure that that's going to work. Someone already mentioned it in the chat, which I think this is a very good point. Michael said that Vance doesn't have a chance after how well Trump has screwed up the economy. That is usually the key indicator, is the economy. And I don't know if, Trump supporters are going to forget that come 2028. But he's running into a similar problem that Kamala Harris had. He's not the president, but he's the vice president. And he keeps defending the president, as he said on The View. So people kind of look at you with what Trump does as well. So he's running into a similar problem there. There's more, though. He went on to a talk show here. I think this is the New York Times interview, where he's also questioned about Israel and Iran. And listen what he said here.
But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact proposal? And, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have.
A lot of people are pausing about that one because he said that about Israel. You can't kill your way through every national security problem that you have. What's crazy about this is that watching him say this while he's vice president, this is what Kamala Harris should have said. Kamala should have said, you can't just kill your way. You can't just kill these civilians, not wait until after she lost and write the book. You know what I mean? Because he's basically prepping for a 2028 run, and he's trying not to make that same mistake. Now, do I think that if JD Vance won, he would not give Israel weapons? No, I think he would still give them weapons. But the point is that it seems as though he knows what to say to try to get people on his side, or maybe try to get some of those people back that have gone away. And then this dropped. Check this out. Trump escalates pressure on Israel to exit Lebanon, raises threat of arms embargo. Again, something that the Biden-Harris administration should have done. Because the numbers do show that the uncommitted voters in those swing states, that if she would have done that arms embargo, or at least agreed to it, the uncommitted voters make up the difference. That's how Trump won Michigan. Sorry, I don't mean to leave out the other states, but the reality is it comes down to the swing states. And so she wouldn't even do that. So it's like they're getting ahead of it. We're going into the midterms. They're trying to make sure the Republicans hold on to the House and the Senate. I'm not sure that's going to happen. It looks like the Democrats are prepped to win at least the House. Senate may be a little bit more tricky. And then you'll see here, Israeli officials told Maariv that Trump's demands are not merely theoretical and that issues concerning Lebanon, Syria, and the Syrian Herman were raised in recent discussions with Netanyahu, adding that the prime minister made it clear that Israel will not agree with withdrawing from its security positions in the north. A senior Israeli official told Reuters that Israel is carrying out stubborn negotiations with the U.S. on maintaining its military presence in southern Lebanon. By the way, Israel is still bombing Lebanon right now, right after they signed that agreement. The officials warned that the messages coming from Washington are no longer limited to difficult decisions. The U.S. is signaling that if Israel continues to insist on its position, it will consider practical measures, ranging from delays in weapon shipments to restrictions on operational assistance, and even more severe steps that could potentially amount to de facto arms embargo. This is what Biden and Harris should have done. Now, do I think that Trump is going to withhold weapons to Israel? No, I don't think he's going to do that. But he made a threat to. He made the threat to. So the cat's out the bag that Trump and JD Vance realize they're going to have to try to turn things around a little bit if they want to win in the midterms. I still don't think they're going to. But apparently, now that Trump and JD Vance are mildly calling out Israel, now the people who supported the U.S. going to war with Iran, that side of the Trump base, now they're mad at Trump, including one of the most annoying ones, and that is Ben Shapiro. Listen to what he said here.
I'm noticing that Mohammed Khalibaf, who will apparently on Friday be literally in a photo op with the Vice President of the United States. I cannot express to you how stomach turning that is. I don't care who the Vice President is. I don't care who the President is. Leaders of the United States of America in a photo op with a mass murdering terrorist supporter like Mohammed Khalibaf shaking hands 6 months after he blew away 42,000 innocent people in the streets, and weeks after his administration was firing missiles at literally all of our allies in the region and continues to support every terrorist group in the region and is currently continuing to control the strait.
There is no proof that he killed those people, but go ahead, Benny boy.
Like right now, it is not fully open for business unless the Iranians have, quote unquote, decided it is. The idea here is that somehow this administration and the deal that has been cut weakens Hezbollah. I'm not seeing it so much. I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's there. Again, we haven't seen the MOU for the 1,000th time. We haven't seen the MOU. That's not because of me. I would like to see the MOU. I think you would like to see the MOU. Hell, I think we'd all like to see the MOU. If Israel is not a party to the actual talks, which they are not, they have not been included in the talks. If Israel is not a signatory to the agreement, which they are not, how in the world could you tie Israel's hands when it comes to self-defense in Lebanon while Hezbollah is firing rockets and drones over the border at Israeli citizens? Shall we say that this is not a popular MOU, from what I understand, in Israel? And again, Israel, they were flying jets alongside American jets during this whole operation. Iran was firing at American soldiers during this whole operation. So playing halvesies is a bit strange. if we release funds, or if we tell our Arab Gulf state allies to release funds to Iran, it doesn't have to be American taxpayer dollars. That is us releasing money to Iran. If you unfreeze money to a terrorist group, that is in fact money going to a terrorist group. It does not have to come from American. That's sleight of hand. It's rhetorical sleight of hand. I was not under the impression that you and I would be paying taxpayer dollars to go straight to Iran. But if we press people to release money to a terror state in order for them to continue to toll the strait and to exert control whenever they feel threatened, or for them to rebuild their ballistic missile and nuclear capacities, that is a gigantic mistake. To go back to the 5 standards of a good deal versus a bad deal would look like continued nuclear development. A bad deal would look like continued ballistic missile development. A bad deal would look like funding of terrorism abroad continuing. A bad deal would look like continued Iranian control over the strait and tolling of the strait. And a bad deal would look like more funding going into Iran.
Can I just say,
hell, I think
Ben Shapiro must be going through it. I know he's been struggling over at the Daily Wire because people are not buying his bullshit anymore. But Ben Shapiro, in this video where he's having this meltdown, he looks like he's hungover. Ben look like, I don't know. Ben, you look like you went out the night before and you had a couple drinks and had some shots, maybe fell asleep at the bar, crashed on the couch. I don't know. But Ben looks hungover when he's having this conversation there with himself. It's really crazy. So Ben Shapiro crashes out, not happy that there was an agreement signed. Of course, right? Because Ben Shapiro, his number one priority is not the United States. It's actually Israel. Here's another one here where he pretty much admits that to you.
After the midterms, once those elections are over, and again, the president is deeply concerned about the economic health of the country right before the election. He believes that if the economy is doing better, if oil prices are lower, then that means that maybe Republicans hold the House. It means that Republicans hold the Senate. Okay, well, what does that mean for after the midterms? Well, I do trust that President Trump will start to enforce red lines after the midterms. The president was threatening just that yesterday.
If they don't honor the...
And you guys have seen this part here. Maybe I need to go to the part where he said, yeah, let me just go to the part really quick. I know I have it on my page where he said, because I shared that one and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. He said that he didn't care who we were. Hold on. You got the baby there. I know I shared it. This one. Yeah. I think did he say this one? Let's see. Hold on.
Apparently on Friday, be literally in a photo op with the Vice President of the United States. I cannot express to you how stomach turning that is. I don't care who the Vice President is. I don't care who the President is. Leaders of the United States of America in a photo op with a mass murdering terrorist supporter like Mohammed Khalibaf shaking hands 6 months after he blew away 42,000 innocent people in the streets, and weeks after his administration was firing missiles at literally all of our allies in the region and continues to support every terrorist group in the region and is currently continuing to control the strait. Like right now, it is not fully open for business unless the Iranians have, quote unquote, decided it is. The idea.
Yeah, so I played that part. He doesn't care who the president is. He doesn't care who the vice president is. His number one priority is Israel. I've said this for a long time. I believe that Ben Shapiro is an agent. I believe that he's an agent. Like I told you, Ben been looking rough. He been looking kind of rough. He's not alone. He's not alone. Mike Huckabee is crashing out. Mike Huckabee, you know, this is a guy who loves Israel and he buys all into, you know, the end time like rhetoric and says we got to protect Israel because God said so. Doesn't tell you that Israel in the Bible isn't referring to an actual physical place. You know, he's a loony Ben and he's crashing out. He's also angry about this agreement.
It's also my job to represent the importance of Israel to the United States. This is just another reminder that it is your heritage without a doubt. But minister, it is also the heritage of the United States. Without Israel, without the Jewish Foundation, there would not be an America. We owe our very existence to what happened in this land.
No, so you guys know he's cuckoo. He believes that without Israel, there wouldn't be a United States. That does not make any sense. That does not make any sense. No, without the U.S., you wouldn't have Israel as it is today, because the U.S. continued to give it billions of dollars, $3.8 billion every year. The U.S. continuously funded Israel. Israel needs the United States financially. They also get their weapons from the United States, or most of them from the U.S. as well. So this guy is far, far gone. So he was upset again that Donald Trump signed that agreement. He's not alone as well. Also, of course, Mark Levin. This is another nut job. He's angry. They're big mad, man.
I strongly disagree with something the president said today. I heard him say one other time too, which is, if we hadn't attacked Iran, Israel would not exist. It would have been destroyed. That's simply not true. It's simply not true. For 12 days, Israel fought a year ago against the Iranian regime before we did. Destroyed its ground-to-air missiles, destroyed its Soviet and / Russian radar systems, destroyed much of its air force, destroyed much of any of its defenses. For 12 days. We went in on the 13th day with our great bombers and those bombs, and we hit those nuclear sites. But Israel has some very, very powerful weapons that it has not used. I don't know this firsthand. Just go online and read about it. It's a secret that's not so secretive. And they've had them for decades. Israel will survive. Period.
No, I actually don't think that it will. And it's interesting. He's bragging about the nuclear weapons there. And I would say advocating for it, advocating for the use of those nuclear weapons. That's why he said it the way that he said it. So you have people like Mark Levin and whoever still watches Mark Levin at this point, and Mike Huckabee and Ben Shapiro, they're all crashing out. They want the U.S. government to continue to go over there and kill people. Anything for Israel, anything, just go over there and do what you need to do, because they're Israel firsters. And now Donald Trump and JD Vance have a different problem, because now that they signed that agreement, now the pro-war part of the base is mad at them. This is what happens when you campaign on something and you renege on what you said you were going to do. So now they still have that split, but now you got both sides mad. Don't get me wrong, there's always going to be party loyalists. But I think this is really funny, considering this just came through on the Hormuz letter. Iran has suspended its entire 60-day negotiation period with the U.S. over the direct violation of the MOU's first clause, with Israeli attacks on southern Lebanon constituting a breach less than 24 hours after the MOU was electronically signed. That is per Fars and Al Mayadeen. So this recently came through because Israel is still striking Lebanon. That was part of the agreement, that Israel would not attack Lebanon anymore. So now the Hormuz letter is saying that Iran may not now participate in this signing. There was supposed to be Switzerland. They were supposed to go to Switzerland. Iran's negotiating delegation had already begun preparing to depart for Switzerland to launch the first round of talks before Iran made the decision to suspend the entire trip. So that was supposed to be the next step. But Israel, they found a way to screw that up as usual. As usual. So Cat's out the bag, ladies and gents. That Donald Trump was saying it at the G7 summit as well. He was saying you can't just go bombing people and you can't just bomb and all those types of things, because they know we're getting closer to the midterms and they see the way the wind is blowing. If you look at that recent Georgia gubernatorial race, the Trump endorsed candidate lost the Republican primary. So it's no longer seems to be moving in his favor. So I don't know. It's all talk right now until you actually see some type of action. But the reality is they see which way the wind is blowing. So they're going to say things that they think that at least half of that base wants to hear. And JD Vance is definitely, it seems like, getting ready for a 2028 presidential run. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. What is up? Thank you so much for the super sticker, Gasper. Noble says, yes, Sabby, I've read that book, Going to Tehran. It's very informative. Yes, and it's a good read, too. It's not like, sometimes when I read those types of books, like, oh, let me tell you about this country, it gets kind of boring sometimes. It's not like that. Scorpio, Trump flip-flopped yesterday and said Iran has a right to defend themselves and have ballistic missiles. LOL, this is Trump. Thank you, Bent. Every country has a right to defend itself. What a stupid, racist, idiotic question from the CNN reporter. Shout out to Cool Blue. Elections 2026 and 2028 will be years for Democrats. And 2028, people will not be in the mood to allow Republicans to continue to have the presidency for the next 4 years. I agree. I think you're right about that. Hoodmare says, Sabby, thank you for staying on it. I don't even watch any mainstream news for a couple of years. I will become a member. Oh, thank you. And welcome. Thank you, Cool Blue. Trump's job approval struggles for 40%. The 2026 Democrats will win majority control pickups for the House, the Senate, and overall majority U.S. governors. Cool Blue's really good with the data. So take note of that. Thank you, Logically. Self-defense in Lebanon is a wild thing to say. Thank you, Kenman. Can Ben Shapiro even afford his tiny horse? Oh, remember the horsey? Thank you, Imberg. As a secular Jew, Ben Shapiro pisses me off. He makes Jews' lives worse by cheering for genocide wearing a kippah. Interesting. Thank you, Sherelle. If the divide is genuine, could Trump threaten to declare the United States to become occupied by Israel? Under international law, could we resist? Ooh, Sherelle, you thinking down the road. I like the way that you think. I don't think legally he could do something like that. But under international law, I mean, if you're occupied, you have a right to resist. Thank you, Yemi. Ugh, Ben Shapiro's voice. It's like a fly shape shifted into a human being. That is such a good description. Thank you, Ira. Dems and Republicans have fractured bases. There is a historically ignored demographic of the electorate, and I'm betting will prove crucial, and that is Black men. Black men could become a swing vote. 30% plus voted for Trump in Houston. Yeah, the Democratic Party they decided to ignore the Black male vote. Thank you, Bent. Ben the Zionist. Netanyahu killed over 100,000 Palestinians, and you care about 42,000 Iranians. What a hypocrite criminal. Not only that, but the number continues to increase. It's crazy, crazy, man. All right, ladies and gents, do me a solid and smash that like button. Thank you. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. All right, ladies and gents, we do have a heavy story, but I'm not going to end with the heavy story because I don't like ending with heavy stories. So let's go ahead and do this one now. This story coming out of Mississippi, a one-year-old boy was shot and killed by the police. This happened in a Walmart parking lot. Let's go ahead and get into this clip here. You're also going to hear from the mother.
Valicia Wally says that she was at Walmart with a friend and baby Cohen, and when they walked out of the store, she says her friend was approached by police. From there, she describes how the situation escalated.
But they tried to say that she forcefully was trying to drive and hit them, but they was all on the right side, and she was driving towards the left. They just personally just shot in the car.
Valicia Wiley is speaking out for the first time just days after her one-year-old son, Cohen, was killed by a police officer in Senatobia Sunday. The mother says she was walking out of Walmart with a friend and baby Cohen when Wiley's friend was reportedly approached by police.
They tried to stop her, but I kept walking because it had nothing to do with me.
Let me just pause right here. This is something that people are getting wrong online. They said that the mother was shoplifting. The police didn't even stop the mother. They stopped her friend. So this, again, another one of those things where people are saying things that they don't know the story. So let's continue on.
The time me and my baby got in the car, she came, and then when we was backing up, they was running out the come. I raised my baby up because they withdrew their gun. She had no tent.
Wiley alleges 3 to 4 shots were fired, with at least one of the bullets hitting baby Cohen and at least 2 hitting the driver.
So this is another part that people were getting wrong. They said, well, the mother was driving and the mother had the baby on her lap while she was driving. So the 2 different things here, right? So the police didn't even stop the mother. They stopped her friend. They accused her friend of shoplifting, right? So the mother held up the baby to show the police that there was a baby in the car. That's why she was holding the baby up. Oh my God.
Cohen's mother says they then drove to the hospital where her 1-year-old boy unfortunately died from his injuries. Senatobia police allege that officers attempted to stop the car multiple times, but the driver refused and reportedly drove into an officer's direction, which resulted in the shots being fired.
But they tried to say that she forcefully was trying to drive and hit them, but they was all on the right side, and she was driving towards the left. They just personally just shot in the car. They ain't charged me with nothing. They just let me go. They didn't say nothing.
So again, for the people who were saying it was the mother, it was not. She wasn't even charged with anything. And again, all of this over accused shoplifting, which I haven't even seen proven, because we're going to get to the statement from the police department that they gave as well, because that officer has been put on administrative leave. So we can see some of the video. You can't see it from the officer's angle, but I will be able to show you part of the video that they were able to show. But they are going to release the body cam footage as well. From what I saw in the video, it didn't look like the car was going in their direction, but I can only see one side of it. So just one thing to keep in mind. But that's the little boy's mother. So for people saying that she was driving and the baby wasn't, she was not, she was a passenger. This is how people get stories wrong. And then they put it all on the internet.
They just kept telling the crowd that they were shoplifting. But I don't know if they found anything, because there's nothing to find.
The officer involved in the deadly shooting has been placed on leave, and the body cam footage has not been released because the case remains under investigation. As the Senatobia community awaits answers, there are calls for unity, transparency, and accountability.
But my position is, if she had walked out of there with every pamper in the store, that did not elevate the situation to shooting a gun.
Right. Reflect back to things that I have witnessed most of my life. The only difference, we just living in a different time, but the power structure have the same mentality they had when I was a child.
Tonight at 6, you'll hear more from those 2 men who actually helped lead a Mississippi boycott in the 1980s. They explain the similarities that they see from back then to now as they call on the community to unite. Reporting live from Senatobia, Mississippi, for your news leader, Raven Copeland, WREG.
Here we go again. Good point, Soul. Who shoots someone for shoplifting? Here we go yet again. And by the way, still have not seen any evidence of shoplifting. This is why, and I tell you guys, like, People ask like, well, why do you feel this way about law enforcement? Because they be doing shit like this. And so you'll see part of that footage here. You're not going to see the actual shot, but you'll see I don't do that. I don't show that on YouTube anymore because it made me feel some kind of way. I got tired of showing people being like gunned down and shit. But what you'll see here is the car when it starts to drive away.
She says she tried to show officers that her child.
Okay, this is the only video footage I've been able to capture so far. Here's the car right here. Here's an officer here and here.
Was inside the vehicle.
I raised my baby up trying to show them.
That's when she was saying she was trying to show them that the baby was in the car. So you guys tell me, what do you see? We'll have to wait for the actual body cam video footage, but
She tried to show officers that her child was inside the vehicle.
so at this point, the car made a left, which is what the mother said the car did. The car turned left. She said the officers were on the right. The officer is right here. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of that Renee Good situation. Remember when the officers said that Renee Good tried to run them over? And when we got the body cam footage, it showed that she was actually turning the wheel in the opposite direction. That's what it reminds me of.
I raised my baby up trying to show them that he was in the car. So she was backing up and she hit a car as I was opening the door, so the door flew back in. By the time I sat my baby down, it was like 3 to 4 shots.
Wiley says gunfire erupted as the vehicle backed away, and she says her son was struck by a bullet. The driver was also hit, and they took Cohen to the hospital where he was pronounced dead.
They tried to say that she forcefully was trying to drive and hit them, but they was all on the right side, and she was driving towards the left. They just personally just shot in the car.
I want to make a comparison here, guys. You know what else? If this sounds or looks familiar to you, where have you seen this before? Where have you seen it before? Where officers just shoot into the car, killing kids and stuff like that? You've seen it internationally too. The IDF does that. Who trains the police departments in the United States? The IDF does. The IDF trains those police officers. That's where they get it from. So there you go. Now, I want to get to the officer. This is the officer. Patrol Sergeant Hunter Foster, identified as the Senatobia police officer who shot and killed a black 1-year-old baby boy. This is the officer who shot the baby. Again, all this over diapers, which apparently they didn't even have. And then, you know, this is the second time, guys. What I tell you, second time, we just talked about the Rick Chow guy who chased this kid out of the store, ran the length of a football field because he thought he stole water. Come to find out, didn't have any water, but he had already shot and killed him. This is not cool. People are not safe. People are not safe. They're just trying to go to Walmart. Like, this is crazy shit, man. Now, here's another one here I want to show you, because as you can imagine, there are protests at Walmart.
We just got this picture of 1-year-old Cohen Wiley, whose death sparked a day of protests in Senatobia. All right, so now we're back in Walmart, or at Walmart, and you can see it looks like tear gas has been deployed out now. So we're hoping our crews are staying safe, but we are working to get more information as I'm seeing it, as you are seeing it. But hundreds of people were gathered here, and law enforcement feels the need to do some crowd control and use their gas there. Our Lauren Turman, and I'm really hoping she's staying safe through all of this, as well as our camera people, Kim and Autumn. So it's just a lot going on at this very moment, lots of tension, a lot of emotions. As you can see, a 1-year-old child was killed in what police are saying was a shoplifting call. A lot of people wanting to know how a shoplifting call leads to a child dying. and what the policies around that are. We weren't able to get a ton of, okay, Lauren is signaling now. Let's go ahead and hear from Lauren. Lauren, first, are you okay? And why, or, you know, tell us leading up to why law enforcement deployed that gas there.
So, Pepper, we are backing up because we're starting to ingest a little bit of that tear gas at this point. But if you take a look over there, and Kim's going to try his best whilst remaining safe to make sure he gives you. Officers are kicking some of those pellets around, trying to clear people out of this area. You can see some of the gentlemen over there having masks on. Obviously, a lot of people, as you heard, were crowded around this Walmart, as you said on Sunday. That is where the shooting happened. And many of people were trying to make sure they were advocating for the Senatobia community, for the greater Mississippi community, and particular, they tell me, for Black communities. Now, I apologize again. We're trying to back as far away as possible because the tear gas is slowly but surely moving in our direction. But you can see plenty of people are scattered around this Walmart trying to make sure they are remaining as safe as possible. People have been telling me all day today, excuse me, sir, people have been telling me all day today that they are trying as much as possible to keep one another safe. Excuse me. And they are trying to make sure that they are doing their job.
Yeah, that tear gas is rough, guys. I don't know if you guys have ever had to deal with tear gas, but it's not easy to breathe, and it burns.
Now, we are as quickly as possible moving away from all of this. You can hear my voice is getting harder and harder to talk about all of this. But people are clearing from this area, holding one another. I saw a couple of people interlocking arms, trying to get each other as far away from this area as possible. You can see these gentlemen here, they've got their masks tied, trying to put some shirts over their face and putting it as trying to protect themselves as much as possible in this incident. Now, a lot of the people here came from City Hall, as you saw earlier, went to the Tate County Courthouse, and then came to the Walmart where the shooting happened. But it is getting much more difficult, excuse me, to talk out here. And so we're going to send it back to you so we can get safe.
So this happened in Mississippi. Mississippi has a history. And as someone who lived down south as well, you know, there's a history of Black people disappearing in Mississippi. I kid you not. Just one day you were there, next day you were gone. There's a history of that. These things still happen today. It's not one of them places that I would want to live. Like, there's the South and there's the Deep South. Mississippi, like the Deep South. And that is not one of the fun places to be, if you were to ask me. How come this police officer not apologize for killing that kid? No apology. I don't know how many of these, incidents we are going to see. They've become more frequent. That is for certain. Definitely more frequent. But here's what the police department had to say. So they are not having an internal investigation, thankfully. They shouldn't. But listen to this.
Shootings in the state of Mississippi. As part of that legislation, once that investigation is complete, our files are turned over to the Mississippi Attorney General's office, and they will review and make a determination as to whether or not to present that case to a grand jury and whether or not that trial against any officers would proceed after that point. This was done to bring independence to the process, one where the public could trust the process knowing that it was independent from local agencies. Mississippi Bureau of Investigation policy now dictates that once that investigation is complete, our entire file, as well as any evidence collected, body cam footage, dash cam footage, surveillance footage, will also be available to the public as part of a public records request. The purpose for that is because we believe that transparency creates accountability, and with accountability, we're able to maintain the public trust. Those policies and procedures will be followed in this case as well. To make no mistake, this is a very tragic situation. I want the public to be assured that the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation will conduct its independent investigation. We have 5 agents working on this case, gathering statements, gathering evidence, and working diligently to prepare a file to present to the AG's office. I would ask that the public maintain patience as much as possible. And I know this is a very frustrating time, but maintain patience as this process is done. And keep in mind that it's important for us to be able to interview witnesses without threat of intimidation. And one of the things that we don't want to have is witnesses that are afraid to come forward out of intimidation. So
let me just pause here for a second, because they can release the body cam footage now. That he's telling people to be patient. You killed a child. Killed a child. You mean to tell me when that officer was on the side of the car when she held up her baby, you mean to tell me he didn't see that baby? You just start shooting it. And why were you shooting into the car? And if you were afraid you were going to be run over, which it doesn't look that way from the video, but we'll find out. If you were afraid you were going to be run over, why didn't you get out of the way? Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Have you heard any Democrat politicians say anything about this? Why are they so quiet? Did you hear any politicians say anything about Rick Chow being found not guilty after shooting Cyrus in the back, by the way, and he didn't steal anything? You know, it's interesting that a party that depends and needs the black vote in order to win, it is always interesting to me how they are so silent about these situations. Oh, and please don't throw the George Floyd thing at me, because the reality is the only reason they said something about George Floyd is because we were all on lockdown and they had no choice but to. Don't you think where's the Congressional Black Caucus? Why are they so quiet? And I'm asking this question because when the ICE raids were happening, Kamala Harris and all of them, they all gave statements. They're horrified, terrified about what was happening, what ICE was doing to immigrants in this country. Why is the Democratic Party, these Democrat politicians, why are they so silent when things happen to the one base of voters that they need in order to win? Remember that. Remember that. Because they just know us when it's time to vote. The only time I hear from them is every 4 years, when it's presidential election time, then you hear from them. Other than that. Now, apparently that officer, again, for those just joining, was placed on administrative leave. But I don't know, you guys. A baby. I still consider like a 1-year-old a baby. Shot and killed a baby. And I'm willing to bet you that officer doesn't give a damn. I don't believe that officer is at home crying and teared up. I don't think he gives a damn. But we'll have to wait and see that body cam footage. But again, just pay attention to all the Democrat politicians who want your vote so badly that aren't saying shit. Remember that. All right, guys, we got 2 more stories for you. Let's go to some of the comments here, and then we'll keep it moving and grooving. Kimmin, are they going to show the body cam? They said later. I mean, they can show it now. All these technicalities. JB said militarized police force. Gaza was the testing ground. Thank you, Corina. Takia Young, August 2023, Blendon Township, Columbus, Ohio suburb. Thank you, Sherelle. So glad you mentioned the IDF training. I've spoken to so many Black people that say Israel isn't a Black problem, but domestic issues almost always involve them in some way. Love you, Sabby. I'll say this to everybody, like no one should be supporting Israel. And if you're Black, and especially if you take issue with policing and criminal justice and police brutality, you definitely should not support Israel. This is why I said people like Cory Booker they're just hypocrites. They don't make any damn sense. Thank you, Bent. Even if she shoplifted, does anyone deserve to die because of that? What kind of jungle law we have in the USA? Human life have no value here. Yeah. Thank you, Roger. Dems didn't say anything because they're too busy crashing out for illegal immigrants, aka people who can't vote. Interesting. Let's get the Rumble chat there. Then we'll get to this crazy story. Thank you for the Rumble chat, RB Ham. Groucho Shapiro is Israel's version of Tokyo Rose. Damn. Damn. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the next story. If you haven't done so, do me a solid and smash that like button. So let's get into the secret. You know, for years, people have been saying there are these secret societies. And one has been outed due to a hack. Now, I don't believe this is the only secret society. I think there's plenty of them. But this one is very interesting because this secret society is owned by Peter Thiel. Look at the faces, ladies and gents. This is really making the rounds. This guy here in the middle, that's Peter Thiel. There's Elon Musk. There's Ted Cruz. There's Scott Bessent, Jared Kushner, and I don't know who that lady is. But this is a big one, guys. We've been talking about these secret societies of these elites and how they get together and make decisions that will impact the rest of us. And when you see who's on the list of this one, I think you may be surprised with some of the names. But what it does basically show you is that the political party thing is just theater and that people with the money stick together at the end of the day. Let's go ahead and get into this. Now, Wired, Del Cameron and Yulia, they reported this all because somebody hacked in. Check this out. A leak exposes members of Peter Thiel's secretive Dialogue Society. The name of the society is called Dialogue. More than 200 of the world's elites registered for a retreat whose agenda runs from panels on cult branding and sex to prepping for World War III. Let's get into this, guys. Oh, the kids got in. The kids got in. The group called Dialogue is a private invitation-only organization. It is co-founded by Peter Thiel, billionaire, and he's a tech investor. It convenes U.S. officials, foreign government figures, Silicon Valley executives at off-the-record annual retreats. Dialogue has spent 2 decades declining to disclose its members, but somebody got in. A directory in the website code was first revealed by the Swiss hacktivist Maya Arsene Cremieux, known for exposing the U.S. government's no-fly list and breaching the surveillance camera company Verkada. Cremieux tells Wired the directory surfaced via an anonymous tip. Wired independently verified its contents. Now, I want to remind you, it was Wired that also leaked that chorus group that was taking dark money and was paying podcasters like David Pakman and, of course, Too Raw, Too Real, and Brian, whatever the hell Brian's last name is. I always forget about that guy. It's like I can see his face, but I forget his name. Anyway, you guys get the point. This was the same rag that broke that story. So it goes on to say here, a source separately provided Wired with the registration list for Dialogue's 2026 retreat, which names 222 people and records what the list describes as each registrant's membership status and attendee type, including active member and guests. The retreat is scheduled for August 12th through the 16th. near Dublin, Ireland. I bet you they won't be having that retreat now. Anyway, the same data lays out a program of off-the-record sessions, including Money Does Buy Happiness, Bring Back Nuclear, Navigating World War III, Battlefield Technologies, and How Is Your Sex Life? Other talks include Build a Cult, moderated by the founder of the Christian networking site Pray.com, and Build a Party, run by a former White House national security official. Together alongside the mundane fare of typical thought leadership conference, the documents show an extraordinary convergence of power. The registration records list General Alex Grinkowicz, NATO's Supreme Allied Commander, Europe, and the head of U.S. European Command, who took the post in July 2025 and is recorded on the leaked list as having attended dialogue gatherings since 2021. The website directory names sitting Trump administration officials, 2 U.S. senators, 6 members of the PayPal mafia, a former Middle East chief of intelligence, and a sitting ambassador to the United States, along with founders and directors of many of the country's largest surveillance data broker and advertising data companies. You know what this reminds me of? Sounds like Epstein clan. The richest and the powerful. Those executives appear side by side with senior U.S. officials overseeing their industries. R.N. Hoffman, Dialogue's chairman, founded the location data broker SafeGraph and the identity resolution firm LiveRamp, two of the most important suppliers in the consumer data economy. He appears in the directory alongside Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, whose department writes the rules on financial data. Senator Ted Cruz, chairman of Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee, which oversees the Federal Trade Commission and its data privacy authority. So you have Ted Cruz and Scott Bessent, who was just at the G7 summit with Donald Trump. I mean, Secretary of Treasury, a part of this secret society of Peter Thiel's. Now, I also need to remind you that Peter Thiel apparently relocated to Australia, which is really interesting considering the fact that Australia is struggling economically now. So it seems like to me he might be trying to put something together there. This could be phase 2 of the Epstein class. Like I said, I don't think it really goes away just because Epstein is allegedly no longer around. Notice I said allegedly. Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale, whose software runs case management for U.S. ICE and data fusion for the Pentagon and intelligence community, is listed in the same society as Army Secretary Dan Driscoll and Representative Jim Himes, the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, which oversees agencies Palantir contracts with. None of the individuals named in this story responded to a request for comment. I'm sure they didn't. Rafi Grinberg, who lists himself as Dialogue's executive director on his LinkedIn profile and is the author of a self-help book, How to Be a Grown-Up, did not respond to a request for comment. Well, that's not a very, grown-up thing to do. The registration records appear to show not only who belongs to Dialogue, but who attends. Of the 222 people that signed up for the 2026 retreat, according to the leaked records, 87 are marked as first-time attendees. Others list history stretching back more than a decade, and a handful to the society's founding 20 years ago. None of the registrants, Grinkowicz included, used a government email address. Of course not. All registered with personal or corporate accounts, placing their attendance outside the email system subject to public record laws. What ties the roster together more than any title or office is a shared preoccupation with artificial intelligence, longevity, and the near future. Let's pause here for a second. We saw this before. When we were going through the Epstein files, similar pattern. There was a lot of talk about AI, longevity. Could people live longer? Could people live, forever, right? And the future. See some similarities here? When they were asked to sign up a form to predict the future, registrants returned again and again to the same theme, that AI will reorder work, war, education, and belief within a few years. Several foresee mass labor displacement and a swing back toward unions and government programs. Others predict an AI winter, domestic terrorism targeting data centers, criminal defendants choosing AI lawyers over public defenders, or religious revival provoked by the disruption. You see how they just basically talking and planning about our future? So societal degeneration, predicted one person, will continue to accelerate. Members also list talents like funhouse construction, ancient imitation, backcountry skiing, urban exploitation, etc. Right? It goes on here to say, dialogue also plays matchmaker. Its participant form is asking registrants whether they are looking for love and offers to include single man, single woman, or other respondents in future matchmaking. A separate site, datingdialogue.org, hosts an app pitched as meaningful connections for exceptional people. You know what I was just thinking about? Now I'm starting to wonder. Cory Booker just got married recently, and I said it seems like he's lining things up for a presidential run as well. Only this time he has a wife. It was kind of interesting to me how he quickly went from Rosario Dawson to another woman that kind of looks like Rosario Dawson pretty quickly, and they got married. And now I'm starting to wonder if they were part of this matchmaking in this secret society, which Cory Booker is a part of, by the way. We'll get into a little bit more. The form also gathers sensitive answers, including each registrant's political leaning, which Dialogue promises will not be shared in the app or with other participants ever. The records sit in Airtable, a commercial database. For each participant, Dialogue logs a membership status, every retreat the person has attended, a biography, a home city, and private access token. Wired is not publishing the tokens, which function as login credentials or personalized account links that connect them. Here we go. This is a big one. The leaked list also names senior figures absent from the public directory of 113. Randy Krosner, a former governor of the Federal Reserve, who now serves on the Bank of England's Financial Policy Committee. Stop. Highlight. So they got bankers. Everybody see this? A guy who was a former governor of the Federal Reserve, who now works for the Bank of England. He's on their Financial Policy Committee. So they got the bankers. Hallie Hoffman, a former general counsel and acting chief of staff of the Drug Enforcement Administration. Hold up. Hey. We got the DEA. Is someone keeping a list? We got bankers. We have the DEA. Jonathan Greenblatt, the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. We got the ADL. I'm taking notes here. Peter Gottler, the president of the Cato Institute. And you got the Cato. Ryan Stowers, the executive director of the Charles Koch Foundation. You got the Kochies. Roger Myerson, a Nobel laureate economist at the University of Chicago. Academics. I'm taking notes. We can prove a point here. It also lists a cluster of Google and Google DeepMind executives, among them Tom Liu, who leads global affairs for the company's Frontier AI division, and one working journalist, Suad McKennett, a former national security correspondent for the Washington Post. Journalist. We got the journos. The rest of the membership spans hedge fund and private equity billionaires. Private equity. Priv Ec. current and former foreign officials, network television actors, best-selling authors, and religious leaders. All right, so we got celebs and religion. One of the several internal documents Dialogue left exposed on the same online database that held its registration records is a guide for event moderators, urging them to remind participants that everything is off the record. This is a big one. And that comments should be concise and non-obvious. It also coaches them to model brief introductions to avoid status signaling in a room full of senators, dignitaries, and tycoons, politicians. So let me come down to this part right about here. This is important. Accounts described retreats of about 100 participants. The 2026 registration list reviewed by Wired names 222 people. Public glimpses are rare. The statistician, Andrew Gelman, published one of Dialogue's invitations to his blog in 2022, describing its format and registration fee of more than $16,000. So you ain't got no money, you are not going to be invited. The 2014 retreat drew renewed attention this year when an invitation forwarded to financier Jeffrey Epstein surfaced in the DOJ's release of the Epstein files. And that's what I wanted to get to right here. Ding, 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 ding. All of these people. Oh, hold on. Jeffrey Epstein appears on an attached list of past participants, but the person is actually the former CFO of Oracle, not the deceased sex trafficker. Okay. And I'm not sure if I believe that, but let's come back up to the top here. Peep this, fam. This is who is running the world. You got bankers. You got the DEA, so you got alphabet letter agencies, the ADL, the Zionists, the Cato Institute, the Koch brothers, again, big money families there. You have academics, they can propagandize the students. You have the, what does this say? Journalists, sorry, couldn't read my own handwriting there for a second. Journalists, that's press. They can propagandize people through the media. You have private equity owners. You have celebrities, some of them actors. You also have religious leaders. And last but not least, you have the politicians. In other words, they have the powerful people and they have people that also have money. Not all the politicians are up there with the billionaires and now trillionaires, when we include Elon Musk, but they have people that are in position that can make or have some type of power or implement some type of power. And I say this to prove a point. Let me pull this up here. I'm going to show you who some of these other people are. Because see, check this. What do Ted Cruz, Cory Booker, Governor Wes Moore, the guy who everybody wants to run for president, Governor Wes Moore, Governor Jared Polis, Congressman Jim Himes, Secretary Scott Bessent, Secretary Dan Driscoll, Staff Secretary Mario Schlosser, Elon Musk, and Jared Kushner all have in common? They are all in Peter Thiel's elite secret society. It's not left versus right or right versus left. It's us versus them. So let me come in here because I'll just put this in a new tab. And let's zoom in. I'm not going to read all the names, but there's a couple I want to call out because I already looked at this. Look at this. Check this out. So again, Scott Bessent, he was just at the G7 with Donald Trump, so that's U.S., Secretary of Treasury. I lost him. Where did I go? I just saw it. Oh, here we go. Scott Bessent right there. Okay. Who else do we see? There was someone else I wanted to point out here. Some of these people you might recognize, some of the names you may not recognize. Check this out. Sophia Bush, who's an actress from One Tree Hill. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen Sophia Bush do anything in a long time since One Tree Hill. So they even got her on there. Interesting, huh? So Sophia Bush from One Tree Hill. You can follow my cursor here. Let's move on a little bit. Julian Castro. That's the former Secretary of U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Julian Castro, ladies and gentlemen. Let me point out some other ones that you may recognize here. Of course, there's Ted Cruz right there. Let's go down here. We said Dan Driscoll. There was one on here I saw. Oh, this one does not surprise me. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the actor. I'm going to show you why he doesn't surprise me. I'll take you to something he said fairly recently. Adam Grant, the organizational psychologist. We know this guy. Who's another one here? Sam Harris, podcast host. Oh, there's more. Here's Reid Hoffman, guys. Reid Hoffman is the co-founder of LinkedIn. Anybody notice something so far? These people aren't only left. They're not only right. It's a mixture. It's a bipartisan list of people. And I'm going to tell you what that means in just a second. Okay, let's go back to the next one here. Because there's another one here. Let's open this in a new tab. There we go. All right, let's zoom into this one. There's some other ones here I want to point out. Ezra Klein. You know, the guy who was trying to make the case for Israel, that journalist, opinion columnist from the New York Times. Oh, there's another journal, guys, Ezra Klein. Maybe this will help you understand why he has the positions that he has now. He was also one defending Israel against the genocide. Let's continue on more here. We have Tara Kono, who's a digital minister in Japan. You have Jared Kushner. Now, see, let me pause here because I want to make a point. Jared Kushner is on that list. You got Jared Kushner, you have Cory Booker, and I want to prove a point. Remember when Cory Booker made that long ass speech on the Senate floor? And I told you that was theater. This is what I'm talking about. You see, when they fight each other in public in front of us, the Democrats versus the Republicans, that's theater. It's to make you think that these people are not aligned behind the scenes. Now, they still may disagree on different, social issues, different policies. But the reality is, behind closed doors, they have the same interests, and that is in protecting the establishment. So as much as Cory Booker sat up there and said, we must stop Trump and we must stop the Republican Party is incredibly dangerous at this point. As much as Cory Booker tells you those things, behind closed doors, Cory Booker is friends with those same damn people that he pretends to fight against in public. So he's still rubbing shoulders with Jared Kushner. He cool with the Trump family. You get me? This wasn't supposed to get out. You weren't supposed to know about this. This is supposed to be a secret. The world is a motherfucking stage. There's Larry Summers at the bottom here, former president of Harvard University. That one don't surprise me. He does not. Brett Stevens, who was a columnist with the New York Times. I see a couple of New York Times people up in here. This is explaining some things. They're all working for the establishment. And you know what else I noticed a lot of these people have in common? A lot of them seem to be Zionists. Well. A lot of them seem to be Zionists from what I can see. And then when we go back here, I think there's one more. Yeah. Look at this. Astro Teller, captain of Moonshots. Of course, Peter Thiel. It's his group. You have Nick Thompson, who's the CEO of The Atlantic. I mean, this says a lot. This says a lot. I think Cory was on the first page, if I remember correctly. You go back. There's so many people here. But I'm glad they squeezed it all in here. There it is right there. Cory Booker right underneath Sarah Bond. So the president of Xbox and Microsoft is also a part of this. So you see how all these people, oh, look, it's Peter Attia, the physician, the same physician that was in the Epstein files. So everybody see this, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah. It's one big club, and we're not a part of this club. Now, I want to tell you about the Joseph Gordon-Levitt thing, because see, he remind me. Silicon Valley says Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Senator Cory Booker were revealed to be associated with dialogue. And it goes on to say, most of the media is leaving these guys off their list, and I wonder why. I noticed that too. That's why I said, no, we're going to go through it. Yes. Friendly reminder, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's wife, Tasha McCauley, is a robotics scientist who co-founded Fellow Robots. She taught classes on robotics and AI at Singularity University and served on the board of OpenAI. So there's that. You look at those names of the people involved, a lot of connections. Artificial intelligence, pro-Israel, as you can tell. You see it? He got the tech bros. Elon Musk is also on that list, by the way. So you got a trillionaire there too. You see what I mean when I say there's no real democracy? How do you have real democracy when you got a trillionaire and billionaire and they meeting together in this secret society and they planning shit? Joseph Gordon-Levitt withdrew from the 2023 Web Summit Tech Conference after the summit CEO, Patty Cosgrave, made remarks criticizing Israel's conduct in Gaza. I remember this, and I want to remind you of something that Joseph Gordon-Levitt said recently. When I covered this, I said, guys, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is trying to pretend like he's caring about the children. This is a push for more censorship. Listen to this.
I understand what Section 230 did to bring about the birth of the internet. That was 30 years ago. And I also understand how the internet has changed since then. Because back then, message boards and other websites with user-generated content, they really were more like telephone carriers. They were neutral platforms. But that's not how things work anymore. Today, the internet is dominated by a small handful of these gigantic businesses that are not at all neutral, but instead algorithmically amplify whatever gets the most attention and maximizes ad revenue. And we know what happens when we let these engagement optimization algorithms be the lens that we see the world through. We get a mental health crisis, especially amongst young people. We get a rise in extremism and a rise in conspiracy theories. And then, of course, we get these echo chambers. These algorithms, they amplify the demonization of the other side.
Did you see how he mentioned conspiracy theorists? You see that?
So badly that we can't even have a civil conversation. It seems like we can't agree on anything. And yet, one of the only things that the American public seems to agree broadly on right now, left, right, and center, Republicans, Democrats, independents, we all agree that we don't trust these big tech businesses and we don't like the influence they're having on our lives and the lives of our kids. Well, if we want to do something about that, the right first step is to sunset Section 230. It's not going to solve everything, but it is the right first step.
So he has this problem with the tech companies, but he's in the secret society group. He was on the registration list with many members that are part of big tech. This is all for more push for censorship and more push for control. But see, the cat is now out of the bag. Like, we would have never known about this secret society had, those hackers not made their way in. We would have never known that. And all those people on that list. And by the way, and Cory Booker, at this point, you just need to resign. Because every time I turn around, it's something else that's coming out about you. And it's really, really scary. Do we have the other one? Oh, let me go to, I thought we had, Cory, did you put up the other one? There was one more I text you I wanted people to see. Oh, maybe you missed it. I think you did. That's okay. I'll add it. I'm sorry. I sent it last. It's my fault. Let me just add it. Because I think this guy did a really good job of basically saying what I think some of us have been complaining about or thinking for quite some time. Let me go ahead and add it here. Okay. Check this out. Don't be turned off by the mask, but what you really need to pay attention to is the message that he says here. So Proud Socialists shared this, and this is what it all wraps up to be.
Wealthy elites want you focused on the theater, the endless public debates, the voting booths, and the red versus blue circus. Meanwhile, the actual decisions dictating our reality are hammered out in total secrecy, entirely bypassing the law, Congress, and public accountability. And the latest massive data leak that Swiss hacktivists submitted to be leaked by Wire.com completely stripped the illusion of an exclusive, invitation-only syndicate known as the Dialogue Group. Founded by tech billionaire and Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, this hidden network isn't a theory, and the leaked internal directory and verified files expose a shadow coalition where the global tech elite, corporate media chiefs, and top-tier politicians from both sides of the aisle meet behind closed doors to plan our future. And the evidence of systemic corruption embedded in these leaks is staggering. The leaked database exposes sitting U.S. senators from opposing parties, university presidents from Stanford and Harvard, tech CEOs, and media executives working in unison, and proving exactly what the Epstein files had exposed, that both sides are working together behind closed doors.
And everything else that we see on television, on the news, that's all theater. They pretend to hate each other in public and behind closed doors. See how they meet together to keep the establishment going? They're all pro-establishment. They're all pro-Israel from what I saw. I mean, you got Jonathan Greenblatt from the ADL up in there. They're pro-Israel. They're pro-establishment. And they're pro-artificial intelligence. And I just told you, bankers, intelligence agency members, you got journalists, you got private equity, why is Cory Booker in a secret society with Jared Kushner if the Trumps are such a problem? And from what I understand, Ivanka is good friends with Biden's daughters. They really are just one big club.
The system's partisan divide is just a lie designed to keep civilians fighting each other while they coordinate above us. And leaked session topics include chilling titles like Navigating World War III. These aren't casual chats, but they're strategy summits held at private estates where billionaires and politicians draft agendas to manipulate public infrastructure, algorithms, and global policy without a single vote or congressional review. And this group is anchored by the founders of Palantir, the exact corporation that built the mass data mining engines used by federal intelligence agencies to track human targets and monitor domestic communication. And deeper investigations reveal their true target, and what they openly discuss as the network state and secret society models, which is that they view traditional human rights and citizen laws as failed experiments, and their goal is to replace public accountability with corporate-led enclaves, completely isolating themselves from the laws forced onto the rest of us.
See what I'm saying? They see us as disposable. This is what I was talking about. That's part of the reason why they don't really do anything for us, guys. And they see us as part of the problem. And it's crazy. But like I said, like people used to say these things were just conspiracy, but no, like these things, secret societies do exist.
This is the system operating at peak efficiency, and they don't care about our borders, our constitution, nor our consent. They meet in secret, build the surveillance apparatus to track our lives, and engineer global crises from high-security retreats. They bypass the law because they believe they are the law, and the system will never validate the truth of its own corruption. But true resilience relies on us, the citizens, refusing to be managed, waking up to the deception, and building decentralized, parallel systems of support that they can neither monitor nor control. So turn away from the system and turn to your neighbors. Wealthy
what I've been telling you. Yeah, you can't work with them. They're never going to let you get to where they are. They're never going to look out for your best interests. You have to build dual power. You have to build, like he said, parallel systems, but they are never going to work with you. And in some of them, in order to get along, to go along, like Cory Booker and them, they get into those types of circles because they see the writing on the wall too. Some of these people are recruited very early on. Like I believe Cory Booker was recruited very, very, very early on. I really do. They got to him early on. Dude went to Stanford. Like they go after certain types of people. And so I hope that everybody sees this for what this really is now. That whole Republican Democrat bullshit, that's all a game. And the way it works is that both parties kind of have to bounce off each other. So it's like the Democrats need the Republicans to be bad so that they can win next go round. The Republicans need the Democrats to just give a little bit of crumbs, but not do enough so that people will swing back over in their direction. They bounce off of each other. And at the end of the day, we're just basically the ping pong ball. They have the paddles. All those people, the people you saw on that list, they support the billionaire and now trillionaire class. They support the establishment. And honestly, had it not been for this leak, we would have never known that those people are all in one secret society with each other. Some wild things out here, folks. It's some wild things out here. But the cat is out the bag. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have one more story for you, and then we're going to do call in tonight after the show. If you haven't done so, do me a solid and smash the like, and we're going to keep it moving and grooving. The cat is out the bag. We have an update about Charlie Kirk's death that I did not know about, and now it's starting to make more sense. Someone, and his name is Sam Parker, he gave a little bit more information about this microphone. And I've worn like wireless microphones before, like on my shirt, but I didn't know all this stuff about them. But basically, to make a long story short, Sam Parker said that Charlie Kirk's microphone update, he goes on to say here that Charlie Kirk was wearing a Rode Wireless Pro, which comes standard with a lapel magnet, 2 storage cases, computer docks, 32-bit sound, and internal device recording and storage. Let's get to the video about what this microphone also does, which I was not aware of.
Charlie started using not just his handheld, but also a wireless microphone on top of it.
So first, I want you to watch Charlie get rigged up with the Rode wireless microphone by Philip Goldsberry. That's what's going on right here. That's what he's clipping onto Charlie's shirt. Then I'm going to explain to you what the functionalities of the Rode Wireless Pro microphone are, and I'm going to prove to you that it is a Rode Wireless Pro model microphone. And then I'm going to explain to you what kind of data we should expect to be able to retrieve. Let's get into it. So here we're just seeing Philip Goldsberry clip it onto Charlie's shirt. Here's a few moments beforehand. We can see Philip Goldsberry has the Rode Wireless Pro microphone in his hand, and he's approaching Charlie with it. Here's another angle. You can see him holding the Rode Wireless Pro microphone in his hand, talking to, it looks like Terrell Farnsworth. There it is in his right hand. You see that? That's the Rode Wireless Pro microphone. Now we're going to see Philip Goldsberry sneak from behind Frank Turek there, and you can see the lapel magnet and the microphone transmitter in his hand. See that?
Let me pause here. So there's the transmitter and there's the lapel magnet. So sometimes when you wear these wireless microphones like this, like on your shirt, these lapel microphones, sometimes you have to have like a transmitter. So this is something that Eric would do for me when I've done the on the ground live streams and when I've been at rallies. Eric kind of handles that because I'm like, I don't know what to do with this transmitter thing. but usually it will come with like a transmitter. The Rode brand of mics, of those, those lapel mics, they tend to be pretty decent from what I understand. They have really good reviews. I know a lot of different like bloggers like use that brand, the Rode brand. But the transmitter part here, I think is very important. There's something else about this microphone that it's able to do that I was not aware of.
That transmitter in one hand, lapel magnet in the other. Then I want you to see the dual charging storage cases or docking stations. This is how we know it's the Rode Wireless Pro microphone, because it comes with the dual charging cases and docking stations.
There are also magnetic clips so that you can hide these behind your shirt or something like that. And all you'll see is just like a little magnet.
So you see that magnetic clip right there, how they can just stick it on you just like that. So these mics have become more advanced over the years. I don't have the fancy kind like that. Like the kind that I have is a clip on. So you just clip it on your shirt and you use it that way. But it's something about that magnet that I think is important and that sticks out.
And here you can see that Philip Goldsberry secured it under Charlie's shirt next to the necklace.
32-bit float audio basically gives you a huge range of flexibility. The idea behind 32-bit float audio is that you have this massive dynamic range to work with. So whether you speak very softly or you're screaming into the microphone, it doesn't really matter. It's going to catch that entire dynamic range without distorting, and it's going to give you full control once you go to put your audio and video together and mix everything down. 32-bit is also extremely high resolution in that it's got a lot of audio information to it, so you're enabled to get great sound from something like 32-bit audio. And I gotta tell you, the first time that we heard the audio from one of our recordings that we shot here in the studio, we were blown away. And this was hearing the audio out of laptop speakers, right? We hadn't put in headphones or anything yet. We just played it back through laptop speakers, and the difference was incredible. Like, we all sat here just kind of shocked by what we were hearing. Now, that 32-bit audio float is clutch, and I think it's one of the best things about this mic setup. However,
one of the things he's really pointing out here is that even though these microphones are very tiny, they're very powerful, believe it or not. So it can even pick up, depending on which microphone you have, it may even still be able to pick up someone standing right next to you. It depends on how powerful that microphone that you're wearing is. But one of the things that really stood out to me is that the microphone was given to him. And let me explain something about that. When Eric and I go on the ground, when we're at those rallies and things like that, so like we bring our own stuff. Like we don't have a big team. It's like me and my producer Eric, and sometimes, Corey will come, but it's not like a big production like what Turning Point USA has, right? So you don't have all these different hands messing with equipment. We bring our own stuff. A lot of times, like I would bring my own, I have a handheld microphone too, one that connects to my phone, but we bring everything. If you notice in this video, Charlie Kirk was handed that, right? So typically with larger organizations that have more money, you would not be required to bring your equipment. All of that is going to be done for you. And all you have to do is just show up, and someone is going to hand you a microphone. Now hold on to that. Someone handed you a microphone.
there is a little bit of a catch with that. So the 32-bit float audio is not captured wirelessly. That is to say, whatever you're recording with, your iPhone, Android, your DSLR camera, that's not what's going to catch the 32-bit audio. The 32-bit audio is actually captured by the transmitter itself. And both of the wireless transmitters in this pack have this on board. You can always have backup audio. As a matter of fact, you can get away with not recording audio on your camera itself if you want to. But for redundancy, you can record directly to the transmitter. It's got plenty of storage space. Or you can record directly to your transmitter and to your camera so that you have options. But again, it's important to note that the 32-bit float audio is captured by the transmitter itself. So if you want that feature, you've got to use that audio. Now, if you're a videographer or producer, I'm sure you've had scenarios in which you stopped recording on your camera and then your talent said something amazing or something hilarious happened and you didn't capture that audio. Again, if you're recording directly to the transmitter, you don't lose anything. It'll always be on. And you don't have to worry about your talent turning the transmitter recording on or off. You can actually map a button on the receiver to trigger that onboard recording so that you are in control and you don't have to rely on your talent. Now, like
with this microphone, if you forget to press record and you're using the transmitter, this is so important and this is key. It records the audio anyway. What that means is that anything that may have been said before, once they put that mic on and they synced it up, anything that may have been said before the shooting and the alleged shooting, and anything that was said after that should be recorded because the transmitter still records the audio anyway. So my question is, where is the audio from after the incident, after the, alleged shooting? I don't know what to call it nowadays, but after that incident, where's the audio from that? Where's the audio from the transmitter?
Like I said before, you don't have to use the wired lav mic in conjunction with the receiver. There's a mic built into the receiver itself. This has been a feature of Rode's wireless microphones in the past. And this mic sounds very good.
And in order to make sure that I nailed it and got the bride and groom's speech, I just go over to this Rode case and I pull it out and it starts recording automatically because I have my personal set up to record as soon as you pull them out of the case. I've also found that that is the best way to make sure your talent doesn't intentionally or accidentally start or stop a recording, because when they're recording automatically, there is no stopping it once you pull it out of the case. If you do press the record button on the transmitter, it'll simply make a cut and start a new audio track.
They just kind of go in the dock and they take care of themselves. And then, we occasionally connect them to my laptop so I can shoot you the audio files after production. And they're just always charging. You don't have to think about it. That's probably.
Which means that you really got to be careful what you say, right? They used to tell us, I know in undergrad, they used to tell us, like, always pretend you have a hot mic. Always pretend you have a hot mic so you don't end up saying something that, like, you never know.
Probably the best part of this.
So that's right, friends. Unless that microphone was destroyed, unless it exploded or was ruined or broken in some way, it picked up everything that was happening that you see here. All the whispers, all the mutters, everything that was said.
So all the people who are over here at that point in time, that conversation should have been recorded somewhere. If they're using that transmitter, which it looked like they were from the video footage prior. So the conversation now becomes, what happened to the audio from that transmitter? And people should be asking it. It's probably long gone now. Who knows? But I didn't know this. And I think, unless you use that type of microphone, like, you may not have been aware. But this is now a question that people need to look into.
Everything that happened, that little transmitter recorded it all.
And those recordings, those files should be on the device itself. And then it should be downloadable onto the computer. So we should ask for those sound files.
Eric said, yeah, but I think it exploded. But it still should have been on the transmitter. The microphone was on his shirt. The transmitter wasn't on the shirt. So the transmitter still should have been able to record the audio.
Does TPUSA have those sound files? Does Philip Goldsberry have the sound files? And the only way to get that microphone to stop recording is to send it a signal from the computer. And everybody ran from the computer after that shot, and then they carried Charlie off. That means that microphone should have kept recording indefinitely, all the way to the hospital even. Where's those recordings? How come we haven't heard them? Do they still exist? If they don't exist, or if TPUSA won't or cannot provide them, that's powerful evidence that that microphone was destroyed or was not recording in the first place.
You go back and you look at it here. I think it was right about here, maybe, where they showed. Look how it's handed to him. Right? There's the hats. See? So transmitter here, lapel magnet here. Question is, what happened to that transmitter? This is important because Max Blumenthal, he did it again. Check this out, because I believe all this is still connected. The great Charlie Kirk, RIP, Israeli foreign agent took over the Charlie Kirk show days after his killing. Days after. So Max Blumenthal just published this with the Gray Zone. Check them out if you haven't seen them, guys. They do really great work over there. but I'm just going to sum this up pretty quickly. Charlie Kirk's media empire and his right-wing activist organization, Turning Point USA, have come under the control of Israeli-directed forces he spent the last month of his life antagonizing. Erica Kirk now claims her husband supported Israel to the end, while TPUSA misrepresents his opposition to the war in Iran. Charlie Kirk's show is now distributed by a federally registered agent of Israel tasked with seeding American media with Zionist propaganda. It is part of a whopping $46 million annual contract between the Israeli government and Brad Parcell. This is the former chief of staff for Donald Trump's 2020 presidential campaign. This may be the largest lobbying contract in the history of foreign intelligence operations in the United States. And I think what people have to really come to grips with here, we talked before on this show about Salem Media and how the Charlie Kirk show was also a part of that. And you'll have to know that Parcell, he was assuming this role as Salem's chief strategy officer. Now, according to the terms of the contract, Parcell's clock tower would integrate its pro-Israel messaging into Salem Media Network properties. So this company, Clock Tower, that Brad Parcell has, is registered under FARA as a foreign agent. And that's also connected to Salem Media, and the Charlie Kirk show is under Salem Media, meaning that you had someone pro-Israel that just kind of came in apparently days after, and just made the Charlie Kirk show a part of that. Didn't waste any time. Now, I connect this to the microphone, what we were just talking about there. Seems kind of convenient, don't you think? And you guys have seen it yourself. Don't you think it's kind of strange how Erica Kirk is basically saying, pretending like Charlie Kirk stood by and agreed with the Iran war and supported all that? Don't you think that's weird, knowing the video footage shows the exact opposite? For someone to come in just days after he was killed and just take over, that's suspect to me. And of course, it happens to be pro-Israel. It's very strange. And someone pointed out to me, like, I don't watch Charlie Kirk's show. Someone pointed out to me, though, that what's that guy's name? The guy who was married to the Bennett, Andrew Colvin, who apparently also, I guess, wanted to be a celebrity at one point, wanted to get into acting, because I found it weird that he was married to the Bedingfield. He was married in the Bedingfield family before he was married again. Like, you just don't wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to marry Natasha Bedingfield. And, popular singer, her brother Daniel, popular singer, especially like back in the day. But people were sending stuff to me, showing me that now Colvin his face is all over the Charlie Kirk channel now, that basically he's been made the new face of it. And it's weird. They just happen to get somebody who's on with that message and agrees to nod and get with the pro-Israel message and continue to support that and back whatever Israel wants and what the president says, no questions asked. That's really what I think they're looking for. They're looking for a yes man. They're not looking for someone who's going to question. They're not looking for someone who's going to push back. But to me, it's just weird how quickly they moved in this direction. And people can say, well, Sabs, you're not in that position. And so, no, I'm not, but it's still strange. Like, it's weird. Like, the dude died, and the way that the quickness with the way that everything moved, it's suspect to me. And now we're looking at this thing with the microphone. And now I'm like, I didn't know that about the transmitter, that it would record the audio. So where's the audio? These are questions to ask. I think people should ask these questions. And I'll tell you, you know what's scary about this? They could do this to anyone. I mean, I'm not on the right, but they could do it to anyone. They could do this. If they did this to Charlie Kirk, they could do this to someone like David Pakman if he were to switch course. They could do it to anyone. Again, I'm not, trying to throw names out there, but I'm saying they could do it. If they did it to him, they could do it to any other political commentator that was, kind of known for getting out the base and getting people out to vote. They could do it. And that's what I want people to understand. Look, I didn't agree with most of the things that Charlie Kirk said, but what you need to look at is if they'll do that to someone who said yes and nodded their head and did what they wanted them to do for many years, and then only towards the end started to question things, what do you think they'll do to somebody who is on the left and did the same thing? And I'll tell you guys a little secret, okay? Since the cat is out the bag tonight, I'll tell you guys a little secret. After Charlie Kirk was killed, there were a number of other political commentators on YouTube that were scared. We've had private conversations that were scared. They were scared to go do speaking engagements. They were worried, well, what if somebody comes after them? They were like, well, maybe, I should take a step back. Maybe I should do this. So people may not say it publicly, but behind the scenes, some of the political commentators were scared. And that's on the left. So it can happen to anybody. I just don't think Tyler Robinson was the one that did it. I think there's a lot more to this story and there's more to be seen. So interesting stuff, guys. Interesting stuff, ladies and gents. I am going to do call in tonight. I'm going to take a quick break. Eric's going to come on and read the super chats, and then I'll be back and I'll queue up the call in link.
And we can talk about some of them cats out of them bags, right? But, cats like bags for a little while, but then they get sick of them and they want to come out. So
that's
we can only keep the cat in the bag for so long, and they can only keep all that secret for so long. But I always want to put things in that two sets of interests, right? Is the interest of the billionaires and all their games, and is the interest of all of us. And that's where the real battle is. That's the framing I always want to get to. But we can talk about that in call-in, right?
That's right. All right, guys, I will be back and we'll do call-in.
All right. So this is the part of the show where I jump in from the background into the foreground here for a couple minutes while Sabrina sets up the Zoom Hangout call-in room. Somebody said, where is it? Oh, yeah. It's Kiwi asking, where's Kiva? Speaking of cats. Well, we'll see. A lot of times the Kiva cat, who happens to be around these parts, or sometimes as the cats generally think of it, Kiva allows us to live in her house and take care of her. She's very generous in that way. But sometimes Kiva, the black tuxie cat, does sometimes make an appearance on call-in through this very camera. So we'll see what happens. So what you might be asking, what is call-in? It's not the name of a person. Call-in used to be the name of an app that we would use to kind of like a radio call-in show where people can call in or connect in and tell us what they think. It can be about these stories tonight. We got this Charlie Kirk one. We got Obama. I think people may have a bit to say about Obama. Peter Thiel's Secret Society. We got Trump. We got the 1-year-old. We got lots to talk about. So that's where we like to hear from you. We'll be giving out the link shortly. Sabrina's actually creating the Zoom. So we do it now on Zoom because we don't have the call-in app anymore. So Sabrina's creating that Zoom room, the Hangout room, and we'll be giving out the link. And whether you have something to say or whether you just want to listen in, it's a good hangout and a good time. But yeah, like I said a minute ago, I always think we need to be connecting these things in terms of interests. This is what The 11 Demands Project, which you can see about here, 11demands.org, is really all about getting more and more people to think in terms of those interests, to call out the corruption. So with something like this dialogue group, what's really happening there is that you have one thing that all those attendees have, right, is that they are working for billionaire interests. They are working in the interest of the system. It's what's making them their money, what's put them where they are. And, it's incumbent on all of us who are non-billionaires to realize that it really is them versus us. It's that top 0.1% versus the rest of us. There's a concept in the MCDS. Let me see if I can bring it up. There's a concept in 11 Demands. Let me see if I can just bring it up here quickly. If we look at the old 11demands.org website, that we always like to highlight here is MCDS, the Money Corruption Demand Solutions. So with something like this dialogue group, right, you got lots of money running around, the things run by money. It's super important, in my opinion, to connect all that to the corruption. There's corruption, the billionaires and their servants through the billionaire money, they corrupt the whole society. I mean, whether you're looking at media, even education, healthcare, there's all kinds of things. The really important one is government. They corrupt the government so that everything works, the rules and the laws are in their interest and not ours. You get to the next letter, the D, right? That's the demands. It's really super important that when we're talking about these things, we have clear demands. One really good clear demand is, let's not have a totally corrupt government that works for the billionaires and is actively working against us. When you frame it and you get to that kind of a clear demand, then it's the solutions really become clear then, because we have to have a real democracy. We have to have a government that's representing us. So that means fixing the big money, and getting a government that works for the 99%. If we could get to that, we would fix a ton of things. And I would submit that is the key challenge of what we're doing, and those are the key divisions. So I would urge everyone to work on thinking in that framework, thinking that way, and we all have a role to play in this thing. What really needs to be a big movement, and we have a big movement with clear demands, which is the 11 Demands is all about. We can be potentially getting somewhere, but it's going to take that kind of a thing, that kind of a significant movement of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people pulling in those same directions and thinking in that way. But we can talk about that more on Colin. Let's see what we got here in the queue for a few of these super chats. From Texas Real, thanks for this one. He says, is there any chance this cult's going to take the sleep forever pills going away peacefully? Yeah, I hear you saying, like that Heaven's Gate cult. They kind of remove themselves from the situation. Unfortunately, the billionaires in that whole class are not only going to remove themselves, they're going to remove all of us before they let up. They are insatiably what's the word for it? Unhinged. Their greed is just really unfathomable from any normal person, and that's how we have to think of them, as what we're up against. What we do have in our favor is the numbers. There's a lot more of us than of them, so it's a matter of getting organized behind those clear demands. We could get somewhere. Thanks for this super chat from Kailena, if I have that right, saying love from Lahania, Maui. Thank you, appreciate that. Thanks for this one from that feminist hoax, who says Maryland Governor Wes Moore is on the list too. Yeah, it's part of the system. It's part of how power operates. Is they run these meetings, these little, and these get-togethers, and they get on the same talking points and whatnot. We need to start getting organized and on our talking points and what we want to have happen, but for good things to have happen for the 99%. It's where, our interests are different from theirs. Thanks for the super chat, Ears That Hear, who says, years ago on a Capitol tour, a guy told me Democrats and Republicans are friends and pretend to be enemies for the public. There you go. Yeah, it's like sports teams, right? They'll almost come to blows on the courts, on the pitch, as we seeing recently and whatnot. But after the whistle blows and the cameras are off, or there's not so much attention, they're shaking hands and hugging because they're actually on the same team. Democrats and Republicans are both on Team Billionaire. They're not on Team 99%. We need to realize that and get people thinking that way, and get start working on those real systemic fixes to have a government that's not totally corrupt. Step one is realizing it's totally corrupt and demanding an end to that corruption. Big shout out to Mr. Marlon Wells, who's been a member here for 16 months. I have to say this loud for the people in the back. It's not about which party they are in. It's about the parties they all attend. And Marlon says to free your mind. Thanks for that one, Marlon. We also have one from One Box of One, who's been a member for 31 months. It's a good long tenure. Who says, much love to you, Sabrina. Thank you for that one. One Box of One, and Sabrina appreciates that. Oh, and thanks very much from the same One Box of One for a very generous donation of $50 here through the YouTube super sticker. Appreciate that. And we got one out here on the Rumbles.
Cool.
Let's see, how do we get this one the right way? There we go.
All right. Thank you,
RB.
RB. Calling us conspiracy theorists these days has become a compliment to our critical thinking skills. I agree.
There you go.
I agree.
Let's see. That's what we want. And there we go.
All right, guys, we are going to do call in, so you can call in and chat with me. The link to do that is pinned at the top of the live chat there. I'm going to go ahead and open that Zoom room link while I'm on the stream. And Eric, once you get in, I'll make you a co-host.
All right, just getting that.
Ladies and gents,
now.
the way that this works is if you want to chat, when you get into the room, at the bottom of the screen, you just click on raise your hand. For me, I have to click on the dots that say more and then raise my hand. That's how it is on my phone. That lets me know that you want to speak, and I will know to call on you. And Eric, I see you're here. I'll go ahead and make you a co-host. Based. And Eric, if you can just raise your hand too, that way you stay up at the top. Okay. All right, ladies and gents, that is it for tonight. I will be live Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and I will see all of you baddies then. And until then, I'll see you on
people
call
can
in.
reach the call in with Sabby Sabs 2.
That's right.
There it
you
is.
You can also join it if you go to sabrinasalvati.com. The Zoom link will be there as well for you.
That'll be operational momentarily. All right. See you in there.
All righty, guys. Okay, that is it for me tonight, ladies and gentlemen. You know how we do this. Have a good night and keep up the fight.